Okay, in the previous video, we started making this like the beginning of our web page and just like basically some very light article. And but we see that like when we show that in the browser, it's all kind of like jumbled into one. So why does this happen? It's because the browser has no idea what the intention is for each one of these elements in the page, and it just kind of collapses all the white space. So all the white space here, like this new line and the end of that line, the browser doesn't care about any of that stuff. It just it just smushes it into one white space. So uh, let's fix that. What we have to do is we have to instruct the browser what the content of each one of these things is. So let's just take this one for example at the beginning. Vacationing is awesome. I would say we would call that probably like the title of our article. And in HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, we're basically trying to mark up our page with semantic meaning to each of the elements inside of our document. So in this case, again, this is the title. In HTML, we would call this a heading. And it's actually like there's different levels of headings. There's like 1 through 6. So heading 1 is the most important text on the page. So we have to tell it that this is heading 1. And to do that, you basically are going to put these angle brackets here, which is I'm holding shift and pressing the comma, and I'm going to say H1, and then I'm going to close that with a matching right angle bracket, which is shift period. So this is saying we are now starting a title. And everything after that will be considered a title. So if I just save that, you'll see I come here and refresh. Now everything actually kind of looks like a giant title because again, the browser doesn't care about all the white space and it has no idea where the end of the title is. I mean, it could just as well be over here. So what we have to do is we have to instruct the browser also where does the title end? And we're going to tell it right here. So it's similar. You're going to put the H1 just like you put over here, but before the actual name H1, you're going to put a forward slash, which is like the same key as the question mark without the shift character. And now, if I save that and I come back here, I now have something that looks like it's a title all by itself. Great. The next kind of piece of text, well, this isn't a title, but I would call this maybe like sort of like a very, very short paragraph. And in HTML, there's another tag. These are called tags. There's another one called the P tag, P for paragraph. So I'm going to put one P here. And I want to say that my P ends over here. So I'm going to put forward slash P, save it, and refresh. And now you can see it actually like separate that out visually with an extra space below it. And here's maybe you could say another one, another P. And then lastly down here, there's another P. So we're basically just like going in here and describing all the content that we have. So I'll save all that and then refresh. So now this is starting to look a lot closer. We're missing a couple of things. For one, we have a list over here, but it's not really displayed as a list like we probably want. We probably want like maybe a bulleted list. And then also we have an image here, but we just have the link. And like even better than just a link, well, actually, let me show you both. So um, let's start with the list. So the list is actually, there's an element in HTML called UL, which stands for unordered list. So I'll put UL here, and I'll put UL over here to close the UL. So I'll save that, and I'll come here and refresh. It didn't really do anything except put this like indentation here. That's not really what I wanted. What we're missing is inside of this list of stuff, we also have list items. So this is the first list item, this is the second list item, and this is the third. Actually, we don't need this comma even over here. So the first list item, I'm going to put LI for list item. And I'm not making these things up. There's a defined like specification for what all these things are and which ones are available in your browser. So I know that, from my experience that LI is one of them. So I'm going to put an LI in front of each one and close each one with a closing LI. I'm going to save the file and I come back here and refresh, and you can see now we get the bulleted list that we were looking for. Now, one thing is like visually speaking, it's easier to understand that these LI elements are part of this unordered list of stuff. So it's like all within that. So what we do is typically you'll indent it by either pressing the tab key like that, or you can also just like, it's common to also put like 2 spaces just to give it a little bit of indentation there. And now I'll save the file. And it doesn't change anything on the page if I refresh. It's just really for the developer to visually understand that this whole UL is together. And like this we say is like the parent element to 3 child elements. The first child element, the second child element, and the third child element. Okay, so now we've got the list done. And now we're up to this link over here. So there's 2 things we can do. One is we can link this, we can like make a link to this thing. So let's start with that. So I can say, in order to get a link, like meaning in order for this stuff to be turned in like blue font, that's like a link, I can click it and I can basically open up this page here. So we'll use the anchor tag. Anchor is with an A over here, and now I'll put a closing A at the end. But if I save it and come back here, you'll see nothing changes. The reason nothing changes is because this is just text. Like this text can be anything. But in order to tell your browser where you want this text to link to, you're going to put something called an attribute. Now the attribute goes inside of the angle brackets that open the tag, and it has a specific name to it. There's like multiple attributes for every element, but for A, there's one specifically called href. So you're going to put the name href. I don't know what exactly it stands for, maybe hyperlink reference, and put double quotes here. And then within the double quotes, you're going to put the actual place you want to link to. So I put it there. I copied and pasted it back here. So it looks really messy right now, but if you see, it's A, and then the href attribute, and then within double quotes, you can see the name of the value of the href, and then after I put a closing angle bracket to close the initial A, and then I have the actual text inside of there, followed by another closing A tag. So I'm going to save this, and now I come back here and I refresh, and now you can see that this is actually a link. It comes in blue, my mouse gets a little pointer, and on the bottom of my screen you may see that the my browser is hinting to me that this is a link, and like what the address is. And if I hold command and click it, it'll open in a new tab for me. So you can see this is the image that I wanted. And that's all great. Notice also that the text inside of here can be anything. I could say Eiffel Tower. So I'll save that, and I come here and I refresh. And now the text says Eiffel Tower, but if I click it, it still links to the same place. So I want to get across is that the content inside that you put in within the A tag is just the text you want to appear on the screen, but the href attribute here is what you want it to link to. Okay, in this situation, I might want to say, here's a photo I took of the Eiffel Tower, and I might not want to just then below it put the word Eiffel Tower. Maybe I want the text here, Eiffel Tower, to be the thing that's in blue that I can click to open the link. So I can do that. I can basically just copy this, I can cut it out of my document, and I'll just paste it here instead. So now you can see that says, here's a photo I took of the Eiffel Tower, and I can click it, and it takes me to that photo. So that's pretty easy and straightforward. Maybe I don't want to link outside of the document into that image, but I want to just show the image right here. I can do that also. So for now, I'll just put an image tag here, which is how you can display an image. And in order to tell it what image you want to display, you give something called an SRC property, source, and it basically just gets the exact same link that like URL, just like a link does. And then this one doesn't have a closing tag because it doesn't have like this because there's nothing to put inside of here. Like it's just an image is going to display on the screen and there's no text associated with it. So this one doesn't get a closing tag. It's actually called a self-closing tag. So I just before the end of the image tag itself, I'll just put a /. So I'll save that, and I come in here and refresh, and you can see that now the photo is appearing in my document, and the paragraph is below it, and that's it. Now, this photo is enormous, and it looks really obnoxious in the page. So we'll take another video in order to cover getting, like, how you can show that photo in a more reasonable size. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it right here really quickly. So I could say, like, width is equal to, let's say, 200. So this is another property on top. So like the image tag has a source property, but it also has a width property that I can specify how many pixels I want. So I'm going to save the file, come here, refresh, and now my photo looks like a more reasonable size. So this is just like the basics for the structure of an HTML document. It's basically you're instructing the browser what the purpose of each of these elements are over here, and then the browser can render them in a certain way. In the next video, we'll dive into this a little bit more.